I'm sorry, will everyone not stand in front of the camera? The man in the suit.
That's
Captain Ethan Marquez. Can you move away from the camera? Thank you.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you. I am calling this March 17th, 2026 ATC meeting to order at 7:06. First up on the flag salute, Council Member Vega.
Yes, I'm excited to introduce this today for our flag salute, Miss Avery Colvert, 15 years old, founded Altadena Girls during the Eaton Fire to help support girls who were affected by the Eaton Fire in the community. Originally from Nashville, Tennessee, she moved into Altadena in 2021 and loves art, fashion, and live music. Altadena Girls is a Pasadena-based community space for teen girls affected by the Eaton Fire and other disruptions. Designed as a third space, it provides essentials, emotional support, and community, helping girls gain a sense of normalcy, identity, and belonging. Thank you, Avery, for being here this evening, and we're excited to have you lead our flag salute.
Hi, guys. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Avery, we will have a little something for you after the meeting. Thank you so much, and thank you for your hard work here in Altadena.
Hey, thank you. Moving on to roll call. Council Member Vega.
Yes, good evening, council members. When I call your name, please say present or here. Connor Cipolla.
Present.
Morgan Rulledge.
Present.
Nic Arnzen.
Present.
Kim Yu.
Present.
Milissa Marona.
Present.
Dorothy Wong.
Here.
John Carmody.
Here.
Darlene Greene.
Present.
Anton Anderson.
Present.
Isis Molden.
Here.
Pat Sutherland.
Here.
Yvette Stewart Gordon.
Present.
Justin Moramus.
Here.
Reginald Wilkins.
Present.
Diane Markison. Here. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to 1.3, approving the March 17th meeting agenda. Vice Chair Marona.
Thank you very much. I sent out the agenda on March the 13th to the council members, and we met on Monday, the first Monday of February. Sorry, I have the wrong notes in front of me. And also we met an agenda meeting for the council members. I have one addition to the agenda, 4.3. We will be adding the Altadena Historical Society. And if any of you have the older agenda, Parks will not be presenting this month. They will come back next month to present. Are there any other additions? Yes, Dorothy.
Census Tract 460301.
News to me. Thank you. 8.3, 460301. Thank you. Any others? Yes, Connor.
4601 does not need a census tract report tonight.
Thank you. Deleting 8.2, moving 460301 to 8.2. Any others? With that being said, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay. Having a second?
We have a motion and a second. I'll do Markson second. And all those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on to officers' reports. In the interest of time, I'm going to make mine really quick. Happy Women's History Month. Milissa. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And Council, I've been asked by Library Director Nikki Winslow at last minute to appoint an ATC member to sit on the library's Community Facilities District, the CFD committee. This is a standing committee of the library board that mainly oversees the spending of the bond proceeds. It's more of an oversight type of position. This isn't choices that they're making. Nikki shared that this is an opportunity for the council to have some oversight. After discussing with the executive committee, we decided to approach Councilmember Anderson if he would accept the role of community liaison for the ATC. Councilmember Anderson has accepted, thank you, Anton, and expressed that if there are others with interest in this seat, please, he's certainly willing to transfer it in the coming months and beyond. And council members, please do approach me if you have any future desire to fill that seat or for more info on the extent of that commitment. Again, thank you, Councilmember Anderson. We're grateful for your generosity of your time. That's it for me. Vice Chair.
Good evening, fellow council and community members. There are agendas at the back of the room, as well as public comment cards, also a camera. And so we ask that you don't stand in front of the camera, but also speak loudly so the camera can hear you, and turn off any cell phones or any electronic devices that might make noise during the meeting. The council welcomes input from the community on both agendized and non-agendized items. Tonight, we will have a separate public comment for the Southern California Edison presentation directly after that. If you are interested in making public comment, make sure you put that it is an SCE comment on the card so we know to differentiate between that and the public comment at the end of the meeting. Let's see, as the council will not respond to public comment during the meeting, if you would like a response, please include your contact information. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes, regardless of when you give them. These guidelines are in place to ensure that everyone wishing to make public comment has the time to do so, and that we conduct this meeting in an orderly fashion. And make sure you bring up your public comment cards to the front prior to that time. It is Women's History Month, and I just wanted to acknowledge my fellow women on the council here. It is because of women like these who came before us and others that we stand here today on giant shoulders. I want to make sure that that continues to happen. In my lifetime, women did not have the opportunity to have credit cards in their name. So we've come, as the commercial says, a long way, baby. And just making sure that the Save America bill continues to allow women to vote in this country. And future is very bright with girls like Avery that did our pledge this evening. And so I am just grateful to those that came before us. Last but not least, sorry, I know this is going a little long. I know many of you are here for SCE. The council is taking under advisement your comments that will happen this evening. We will also listen to SCE and their presentation this evening, and then we will discuss if there's anything further that the council will need to do to move forward. And so thank you all for coming this evening. It's good to have a large group of you this evening.
Thank you. I'm moving on to 2.3, Recording Secretary Vega.
Okay, the minutes for the February meeting were distributed on Saturday, the 14th. I did receive one email of correction. Was there any other corrections before I make a motion to approve? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the February minutes as distributed.
So moved.
Thank you, Connor. Who second?
We have a motion. We have Councilmember Marquez in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Councilmember Molden? Thank you. And we'll move on to the Treasurer's report. Councilmember Greene.
Thank you. Good evening. The Altadena Town Council is a volunteer organization that relies on the generous support of our community to fund outreach activities. At this time, we're going to pass around our new and improved donation can. When it reaches the end, please pass it back up to the table. And thank you so much for your continued support. The account began this month with a balance of $4,396.27. Deposits for the month totaled $201, including $130 in Zelle donations, which reflects early traction with our new Zelle initiative, along with $71 in cash donations. Total withdrawals were $254. The account balance ended with $4,343.27. Overall activity reflects steady operations. This concludes the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Councilmember Greene. We're moving on to Corresponding Secretary, Councilmember Yu.
Good evening, council members. One thing before I get into our letters, because we have at least two to read into record, but this last Saturday, there was a CERT class, and I want to say this room was packed to the walls with students. That was amazing. So the next class is this Saturday, super excited about it, and it will be another packed class. Over the last month, 2 letters were drafted and shared to the council and voted on. I will have the authors who drafted the letters to read them into record. Our first letter will be read by Councilmember Marona. It was a letter to DHS to request the release of FEMA funds.
Thank you, Councilmember Yu, and this was approved unanimously by the council. To the Honorable Mark Wayne Mullen, Acting Secretary Mullen, on behalf of the Altadena Town Council and the residents we represent, we respectfully urge your immediate action on the approved FEMA funding application submitted by the Lincoln Avenue Water Company, which is currently awaiting your signature. The funding is critical to the rebuilding of essential water infrastructure damaged in the Eaton fire. The Lincoln Avenue Water Company plays a vital role in ensuring safe and reliable water service for our community. And timely release of these funds is necessary to prevent further disruption to residents and local businesses still working to recover. We recognize the demands placed on your office and the complexities of the federal funding process. However, any additional delay in finalizing this approved application places an unnecessary burden on our community already facing significant challenges. Prompt action will directly support recovery efforts and help restore a foundational public service. Thank you for your continued leadership and for your commitment to assisting communities in times of crisis. We respectfully ask that you prioritize the signing of this approved FEMA application so that rebuilding efforts may proceed without further setback. Thank you. Sincerely, Nic Arnzen, Chair, Altadena Town Council.
Thank you, Councilmember Marona. So the second letter will be read into record by Councilmember Anderson.
This letter was sent to Senator Alex Padilla and to Senator Adam Schiff and was approved by this body on March 5th. Dear Senator Padilla and Senator Schiff, the Altadena Town Council is writing to express our strong support for Greenline Housing Foundation's fiscal year 2027 congressionally directed spending proposal, requesting funding through the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development and Related Agencies Subcommittee. The requested $1 million will support Greenline Housing Foundation's acquisition and/or development of affordable housing on up to 5 parcels of land in Altadena, a historical community devastated by the Eaton fire in January 2025. Greenline Housing Foundation, a Pasadena-based nonprofit, advances fair access to home ownership in California by providing down payment grants, home ownership preservation, financial education, land banking, and disaster response. As a leader in the long-term rebuilding and recovery efforts following the Eaton fire in January 2025, the Greenline Housing Foundation has been closely collaborating with community members and partner organizations to keep properties out of the hands of those looking to capitalize from this disaster. As such, Greenline was the first local community organization in Altadena to implement an emergency land banking initiative post-fire. To date, Greenline Housing Foundation has purchased a total of 3 properties in Altadena, investing over $1.5 million back into the community to ensure that the future use of this land is community-centered and thoughtfully informed. With these funds, Greenline will be able to acquire and/or develop up to 5 more properties for the purpose of keeping Altadena land in Altadena hands. Leveraging other fund types as part of the property development, Greenline will have the flexibility to price the homes below market value, thereby addressing housing affordability in a tangible way. This social impact land banking effort will directly preserve Altadena's fabric and is also a part of Greenline's intentional pathway to home ownership. For the above reasons, we are pleased to support this project, which will significantly enhance housing access and community preservation of historical Altadena. Thank you for your consideration, and we respectfully urge your support for this request. Sincerely, Nic Arnzen, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Anderson. I understand that Councilmember Molden had a response that she wanted read into record. Would you like to read that? Oh, you don't have it.
I can look it up if you'd like, and then we can read it when we have time later in the agenda. You don't have it on hand, though, right? Okay. Do you have any other business, Corresponding Secretary, while I look for it?
No.
Okay. Let's just take a moment to look for it to keep it in proper order. Here we go.
Okay. This is a statement from Councilmember Molden. I will be voting no. The Altadena Town Council serves as an advisory body, and we have not engaged in a broader community process to determine whether residents support submitting a congressionally directed spending request to the Senate Appropriations Committee on behalf of this specific nonprofit. Endorsing one's organization's land acquisition strategy may not reflect the full range of realities within the Altadena community. Residents are navigating very different circumstances following the fire. Some intend to rebuild, others may need to relocate, and some may determine that selling their property is the most practical path forward. Because of that, it is difficult for any single approach to represent all residents. As written, the letter appears to endorse this nonprofit's request for $1 million in federal funding to acquire additional land in Altadena. It is not yet clear how this structure would ensure that the land ultimately remains in the hands of Altadena. Before taking that position, I believe the council should first engage in a broader community conversation.
Is that the end of your report?
That is the end of my report.
All right, thanks. We'll move on to public safety reports. I'd like to bring up from the Altadena Sheriff's Station, Captain Marquez, please. Looking spiffy, but are you wearing green? Okay, all right.
Barely some green. Well, thank you very much for having me. The crime report for the month of February appears to be very consistent with what we've seen in the past. Burglaries remain low. Our efforts are working. We did have a spike in grand thefts, and that is mostly related to fraud cases that we're seeing and fraud arrests that we're making. And we did have one reported rape, again, just like last month. It is a case that was alleged to have happened 10 years ago between people that know each other. So really, that's all the information we can share with that, but it's being investigated now. We'd like to continue to reinforce the residents when they're rebuilding to join our Altadena Home Check program, especially if your home is under construction. And that allows the deputies to, if you do have active construction, to go to the property, check to see what's going on, and have somebody to contact if we do see activities happening, especially after hours or at night. We have somebody to contact to just verify if that person is supposed to be on the property. We are concerned that in the future, when more and more houses are rebuilt, that we will have theft of construction sites, and that could impede the recovery process. It could also really interfere with a contractor's ability to finish a job and then put the home in jeopardy, pitting the homeowner and the contractor between a major problem, and could stifle any kind of recovery is what we want to avoid. So it's very important that people check in, and that way we can do some extra patrols in that area when there is construction activities. And that's at altadenahomecheck@lasd.org. Email us there with your construction contact information, your contractor's name, the homeowner's name, and just some basic information, cell phones, emails, and a number we can contact somebody at 24 hours a day. One other thing, too, is to really, we are also concerned with residents, if they do decide to hire a contractor, make sure it's a licensed and bonded contractor, and to reinforce that the deposits that are to be made are supposed to be limited at $1,000 initial deposit. We have had reports of homeowners being asked to put a sizable amount of a deposit for a construction project, and that is actually illegal. And we fear that could, and in different fire recoveries, that has impeded people's ability to actually build and create more fraud. So unless there's any questions.
Council members, do we have questions for the captain? Wow. Okay, my only question, did you dress up for us, or was this for something else?
Of course I dressed up for you.
All right. All right, thank you, Captain. Next up, we'll bring up the California Highway Patrol. Is it Officer Keller? Who did I see earlier? All right, they're both here.
Good evening, Chair Arnzen, council members, members of the public. I'm Officer Brian Bay with the California Highway Patrol, and I'll be going over the traffic crash statistics for the month of February. The CHP at Altadena investigated a total of 10 traffic crashes for the month of February. Out of those 10 traffic crashes, 6 were property damage only, 1 resulted in injuries, 1 was investigated for driving under the influence, and the other 2 were for hit and run with no injuries involved. Always, I present a safety tip for the month. I was not planning on doing anything heat related, but here we are, 90 degrees right now on my motorcycle. So I will go ahead and say that we want to make sure that children and pets are not left alone inside vehicles, especially when we're not anticipating this inclement weather. So California Vehicle Code 15620 states that you cannot leave a child 6 years of age or younger inside of a vehicle. It doesn't necessarily talk about pets, but since we all love our pets, we want to make sure that we think about them too. So I think recently CHP out of, I think either Baldwin Park or East LA, somewhere in southern Los Angeles, excuse me, we actually responded to someone in distress leaving one of their pets inside their vehicles and they couldn't unlock their car. So we were able to extricate that animal out safely and they were taken care of. So just another heads up to make sure that everyone is safe and sound inside of vehicles. We have been getting some increased requests for enforcement on Lake Avenue. Primarily targeting commercial vehicles. We all see the commercial vehicles in our community. They are here for a reason to help us rebuild, but at the same time, they have to make sure that they are obeying the rules of the road because weight definitely plays a part in terms of traffic crash severity, I will say. So you'll be seeing more CHP on Lake Avenue as well as Altadena Drive. We have our radar trailer deployed. I think there's 2 of them because we've just been getting so many inquiries regarding that. So look forward to more kind of enforcement on Altadena Drive. Again, it's 35 miles an hour, even if the lanes are separated there by Midwick. Please be aware of your speed. And any kind of, I see more faces in the audience, any kind of traffic complaints you have within Altadena area, please direct them to either myself or Officer Keller here, or you're more than welcome to contact our office. Business hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. If you have any traffic complaints, just be sure to tell us when and where, what times and what kind of vehicles and what we should be looking out for. And I always touch base with people too. So that concludes my brief presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Officer. Council members, questions? Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question about the Meadows area. Is any cars that are parked and issues up there on Canyon Dell, would that be under your purview or under the sheriff's?
If it's
I know several respond, so I just want to make sure if there's parking violations. I know that there's been some contact and
okay.
I can't get an answer from. So.
That's something I can look more into.
Okay.
I have no issue at all issuing parking citations or even verbal warnings too. But if there is a sustained kind of complaint in terms of consistent behavior, we want to correct that. And I can work with our team member back there, Captain, to see if we can maybe do a joint thing.
Great, yeah, thank you.
Of course. And I am wearing green too. It's this little green light right here. So just in case you see it. Okay,
bra.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Seeing none, I thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Next up, we get our fire report with Maria Grycan.
I am not wearing green. Happens every year. Happens every year. Good evening, everybody. Good evening to everyone in the audience. It's lovely to have a packed house. I was not here last month either, and we had a switchover in our reporting programs, so it took me a little while to put everything together. Did you want just February, or did you want January as well?
I'd
Just
like to
February.
have January and February, please.
Both of them? Okay. So for the month of January, a total of 217 responses. Our categories are now fire, medical, public service, hazardous situation, and no emergency. So we had 5 fires in the month of January, 179 medical responses, 2 public service, 5 hazardous situations, and 26 that were no emergencies. When you look at the report, the table on the right says patients seen. Because I have to grab from 2 different data sets, when I grab the medical, it gives me a record for every patient seen. So that is now showing as patients seen, which in many cases, in many months, that number will be higher than the number of medical responses. If there's more than 1 patient at a particular incident, it counts as 1 incident, but 5 patients. So does that make sense? Okay. So total patients seen was 183. So you can see the difference there, because there were 179 medical responses, but 183 patients seen. The noteworthy incidents, we had a trash fire, 2 feet by 2 feet in the parking lot on Crosby Street, which firefighters extinguished. We had a structure fire on Lake Avenue, and many of you, especially on the council, will remember this one because it was the same day as the Eaton Fire anniversary, and it was blocking traffic for a little while to get up to the event. But that was a kitchen fire involving combustible material burning on the stovetop. They did have to do some vertical ventilation, so they cut a hole in the roof for that ventilation and to make sure that no other area was affected and that it did not extend into the attic space, which it did not. In the past, we have reported property losses and contents losses. We no longer do that. So instead, what we are reporting when we have structure fires is the level, the damage level. And so there are 4 different levels. And for this particular fire, the damage level was at the lowest, which is affected, which means 1 to 9% of the home was damaged. So the other 3 categories are minor, major, and destroyed. Then we had CO detector activation in a motorhome on La Corona Avenue on the 15th. And this one was interesting because the homeowner didn't know what was going on or in the motorhome. But when they investigated what happened, and I want everybody to be very, very careful, especially if you have gas, is if you accidentally bump it or turn it, but you're just turning the gas on and no flame, you know, it's not enough to light it, but then it stayed on. So that is what filled in the motorhome. So they found the error there, turned everything off, opened up all the windows, ventilated it, and the firefighters stayed there until all the levels were down to 0. So that's just something just be very careful if you have gas, that you're not turning that burner on just enough to start that gas but no flame, because it will fill with gas. And then we had a gas meter at a home on Sonoma on the 19th that got damaged when the vehicle that was parked there apparently was left in neutral, and then it kind of moved forward and hit the gas meter and damaged the gas meter and caused a gas leak. So the gas company was called out, and they did make repairs that evening. We had an accidental outside fire due to hot ashes. Somebody took their ashes outside, and they weren't cool enough, and it caused a little bit of damage to their fence. And then we had on Sagemont Drive, somebody called reporting the smell of leaking gas. Firefighters took a little while to discover what had happened, but they actually found it on an adjacent property on Riposa Lane, and it was a mobile travel trailer that had a propane leak from their tank because of a damaged regulator valve. So somewhere along the line, the owner of that mobile trailer came back, and firefighters talked to him and let him know what had happened. He had no idea, so he went out that night and got a new regulator and fixed it. So then we have traffic collisions. I'm no longer able to report to you every single traffic collision that happens, unfortunately, but I am still going to pull out the noteworthy traffic collisions. In January, there were none, but I am also going to point out the actual number of traffic collisions every month, because if you look at this, if you look at the table, traffic collisions says 8, but the actual number of traffic collisions was 5. So that's it for January. In February, we had a total of 201 responses, 3 fires, 167 medical, 3 public service, no hazardous situations, and 28 that were no emergency. The 3 fires were the only noteworthy incidents. The one was a structure fire on Olive Avenue. It was accidental electrical fire in the attic, and that damage level, again, was the lowest affected, so 1 to 9% damage to the home. We had a fire on Crosby Street, and that was the occupant's 3D printer had caught fire and started to melt. They put it out, but they still called the fire department, and I encourage everybody, even if you put a fire out, please let us come and make sure everything is out. So the firefighters did thermal imaging in the surrounding area just to make sure that nothing else there were no heat signatures. So as it turned out, there was no spread to the structure at all, and it was just damage to the 3D printer. And then on the 28th on Lake Avenue, there were some residents that were burning cardboard and wood in a makeshift fire pit. That fire was extinguished, and the residents were advised that that is considered to be an illegal burn. Total traffic collisions were 8, and one of them was versus a pedestrian on the 14th at Allen Avenue in Washington. A 78-year-old male was walking across the street. He was hit by a vehicle pulling out of the parking lot at a slow rate of speed. He had some very minor injuries, and he refused transport. Our safety tip of the month has to do with carbon monoxide, known as the silent killer, because it is odorless, tasteless gas that cannot be seen. CO poisoning can result from faulty furnaces or other heating appliances, clothes dryers, or cars left running in garages. Symptoms of CO poisoning include headaches, nausea, drowsiness, and exposure to undetected high levels of CO can be fatal. So to avoid CO poisoning, ensure that all fuel-burning vented equipment is vented to the outside. Keep the venting for exhaust clear and unblocked, and do not leave your car running in the garage, even if the garage doors are open. And that actually turns out to be a very timely tip, because one of the things that I am able to see on the reports, especially on the no emergency calls, is a little more information and more of a narrative about what a lot of those calls are. And I'm noticing that many of the calls have to do with CO detector activation and smoke alarms that are going off. And yes, people can call the fire department for help, especially, if they're concerned, obviously. But 9 times out of 10, I would say that the firefighters will come and they'll check everything and make sure everything is okay. But check the batteries in your smoke detectors and your carbon monoxide detectors. Check those. And many of them now, they have a 10-year life, so they will begin to beep at the end of that life. And if that starts happening, either replace the batteries, or if the batteries cannot be replaced, replace the unit. Because more often than not, that is what the residents are advised to do, that the unit has expired and they need to install a new one. So that is it. And, I'm sorry, that's not it. I'm sorry. Councilmember, you alluded to this earlier. We did begin our CERT training this past Saturday. Wow, Altadena, you rock. We had 50 students in the class. 50 students. And that is amazing for us. You know, we usually, I see, you know, the number of people who register and we allow for attrition and all of that. We had less attrition than I had expected. We had 50 people start. So last week was the first week. It's a 3-week course. So they'll be back this Saturday and the following Saturday. Under normal circumstances, I, you know, would encourage people to just join the class, but I don't think we have room. So we'll take a look and maybe reach out to some of the people who had registered and didn't come to see if there is still interest. And if we get enough interest with enough people to build another class, we're happy to do that. But this one was amazing, 50 students in the class. And Councilmember Yu is one of them, along with her son. So yeah, it was very, very good.
Thank you, Maria. And if you didn't mention it, if people in the room don't know, it's CERT is the Community Emergency Response Team.
Yeah, Community Emergency Response Team. It's mostly for when disaster strikes. It's geared mostly to earthquakes. When first responders might not be available and you need them, it teaches you what you can do to help yourself, help your family members, help your neighbors until the time comes that first responders become available. So there's a lot of medical, search and rescue, psychology, fire. There's a lot involved with the class. So,
thank you. Council members, questions? I do have a quick question. Why the change to not do the details of the traffic collisions?
In all honesty,
No,
I just
lie to
don't
me.
I just don't have the time.
Oh, okay.
I just don't have the time.
Okay.
It was much easier, the format that it came out in before, and with the change, I would have to look up every single
Understood.
one, and I just don't have the time.
We are receiving them. I know Councilmember Wong would often, I was throwing that in, wondering, but I appreciate that.
What I choose to do is make the time for the noteworthy ones. So if they're coming up as versus pedestrian or into a structure or a person's trapped,
Yep.
I'll make the time to, because that is concerning to you and it's a little more noteworthy. But I just, I have lodged a complaint, so I will see if there is anything that they can do to streamline the way those come out in my reports to make it easier, and maybe in the future sometime I can resurrect that, but not right now.
And we're receiving them from CHP, so we appreciate that. Thank you. Council members, I think we're done. Thank you so much, Maria. Good to see you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to community reports. First up, we have LA County Public Works and RV report back. I'm sorry, hold on one moment. A report back. We have Steve Berger, Deputy Director, and I believe there is a presentation. Do we have? Nope. Okay.
It's just a verbal presentation. By the way, I promise I was wearing green all day. My business clothes, I went into my street clothes. All I had is this, but I did take one of your green candies, so I think we're good. All right, well, I want to thank you, council and members of the public. I think most of you know me. I've been here a few times before, Deputy Director for Transportation, Public Works. And Public Works is part of the county team that's helping the community recover. And one of the things we're doing is try to help people that are having problems with housing, temporary housing, as they're rebuilding. And I think most of you are aware we've been able to accommodate temporary housing on site on the lots through a program that regulates that it's temporary and there's a certain set of rules in place. There are some folks, however, who because of the way their lots laid out or because of the construction, they have a desire to have temporary housing, and one of those areas is in the public streets. And so currently we have a oversized vehicle ordinance that regulates oversized vehicles, so that isn't currently allowed under the ordinance. But in February, the supervisor asked Public Works to get together with fire, with sheriff, with public health, and with regional planning, and come up with some recommendations that we could present to your council that would be a program that would be as accommodating as possible to the people that need the temporary housing, but respectful of the community as far as impact to the community and as far as safety, traffic, and things like that. So we did get together with all of our experts, and we came up with what we propose as a plan that isn't all-encompassing. It's not going to work everywhere. It isn't anything that will solve all the problems, but it will potentially accommodate housing in the streets for a temporary period of time. So I'm going to quickly go over the details of that. And then one of the things is we really value the community's input on this. We're here to hear from you, determine if this is even a program the community wants to undertake. It hasn't been decided yet. It's just a proposal, an idea that we want to find out if this is something we can all agree on and put in place. So the first thing is this program would only be open to original Eaton Fire survivors. It wouldn't be for people that purchased lots. It's for people that had still own the lots and they're rebuilding. It's for people who have an active building permit. We want, this is going to be a short-term solution, so we want it to be for when the rebuilding occurs. It's going to be evaluated by both Public Works and Fire and Public Health for traffic safety. For example, we would not allow the RVs, and I say RVs, temporary housing on the lots can be either a manufactured home, a mobile home, or an RV. This is only going to be street legal and street registered RVs, the ones that you see at campgrounds and things like that. So we're going to review the placement of those RVs. First and foremost, we're proposing that it be in front of the lot of the owner, so that way we're not inconveniencing or burdening other members of the community. We're also proposing that we review it for safety. That includes no high-speed streets, no streets that are too narrow for first responder access. And if the street already has an issue with too steep, the street's too steep, or they already have an issue of parking issues, then we would also not issue that authorization. And as far as the actual operation of the unit, it must be completely self-contained. The unit must have a permit from a registered pumper that will take the RV's wastewater out. They must have a source of water with a water tank. And then as far as electricity, either if they can accommodate it across the right-of-way, not impeding the sidewalk, so that would have to be a pretty extensive underground system, or with a generator and batteries, and then those generators would only be operating during construction hours. And so that's the general overall proposal. We have folks from our team here. Sheriff is here to discuss any parking or enforcement questions. We have, I believe Public Health is here, right? If not, we can route the questions to them. And then our regional planning partners here as well. So I open it up to any questions, and then I'd like to collect input from both the council and the public. I will give out a website later, an email that people can give direct comments to. And then I'm also going to give you the proposed guidelines so you can put those on your website and people can take a look at them.
Thank you, Steve. I will take council questions. As a reminder, the council will engage in questions with you. I would encourage you to stay for general public comment where we may get comments from the public. Go ahead, Vice Chair Marona.
I wasn't sure, I tried to write down everything, but is there a time limit on this?
Yes, I'm sorry, thank you. I forgot to mention that. Yes, it's going to be for a total of 18 months. And the permits, and by the way, this is going to be a permit process. What we're going to do is we're going to come through our Public Works office. We'll issue a permit. The permit will both have a license plate number that we'll give to Sheriff's Parking Enforcement so they know which ones are proper. And we're going to put a placard on it as well. So that way, as the sheriff's driving by, they know which ones aren't authorized and which ones are. And it's going to be, the permits are going to be at 6-month length, so that way we can see how things are going at 6 months, and a total of 18 months.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Morales?
Yeah, actually, I had a question on that. For the 6-month extensions, are those just automatic based on like whether construction's completed or not?
We would review the same guidelines that we issued the permit. For example, if the construction was complete, then we'd say, we're not going to renew that.
Right.
If they had ceased construction or abandoned the project, we would not reissue the permit. If they had a history of violations, for example, if they weren't cleaning out their tanks or they were running the generators late, we actually are going to throughout the process, even if we see that in the middle, we're going to reserve the right to revoke the permit if they're not complying with those conditions.
Okay, and then, so permit would be issued at issuance of building permit, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, it may be worth consideration and further conversation about whether it should be issuance or submittal of building permit. I understand submittal, there's reasons
Yeah,
on both
unfortunately, there's a
sides.
lot of people that submit, and because of one
And they
thing or another,
delay.
sometimes financial, they don't move forward, and so,
I mean, I would suggest that maybe with the 6-month component to that, that if you have the right to revoke, submittal may not be an issue because you would just revoke the permit.
yeah,
at
so
that
that's
point.
another one that we're open to considering, exactly.
Thank you, Councilmember Worley.
Would this be a separate permit process from the temporary housing permit?
Yes, this would be along the lines of a street encroachment permit. So just like if you're coming in, you want to cut a trench in our street, we have a permit process for that, and it'll be through that, and monitored by Public Works.
Gotcha. And will this be available to folks who are coming to the one-stop shop to apply?
Yes, we'll make sure we enable that as part of the process.
Great. And last question, so would these vehicles be able to receive power from like a temporary power pole that's on site?
It's possible. We're leaving it open for utilities, but the big concern is, we don't want an extension cord just laying across the sidewalk, right, for trip hazard and for safety reasons. So, like I said, it'd have to be a fairly extensive engineered solution that could be put under the sidewalk. It's an option we could leave open, though.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wong.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi. So let's just say streets are timing themselves out and there will potentially be multiple motorhomes. And then homes have, there's a lot of narrow lots, for example.
Yes.
So how would you take that into account that potentially the motorhome, depending on the size, could potentially encroach on access into the, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, and that's where, like I said, that's why the proposal is just on the frontage of the property. Although the streets belong to everyone, generally, you think each lot has a parking space in front of their house. So that would be one way to handle it. There may be some lots where they're not wide enough to accommodate this. So this is something, like I said, wouldn't work in every case. It would just be where it makes sense.
So you would measure it out based on like a Google, like how would you
Yeah, we'll
know?
even do field reviews and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Vega.
I'm really concerned about this. You're talking about RVs on the streets. In driving around town, you have RVs on both sides. You have constructions, you have concrete. The county is stretched. I don't think that you have, or Public Works or the sheriffs have the resources to keep people from coming into our town who aren't supposed to be here. And I think this is opening a huge can of worms of trouble for our community. And I'm very concerned about this, especially for the west side. There's a lot of burnt homes, and it's already been a difficult situation on that side of town. And in my opinion, this is opening up a can of worms for something that really cannot be corrected over time. Parking in front of your particular house. We have RVs, we're not in, who knows how big these RVs are gonna be coming in. And so now then you have people encroaching on people's driveways, and I think it's just a big mistake to allow RVs to be on our streets.
And those are all valid concerns, absolutely, and we've thought of the same thing. So yeah, it's not that this wouldn't be an impactful policy. And so, yeah, we want the community to consider this, and like I said, it's not a done deal.
I think this is the time for the community to really think about the ramifications of allowing RVs on the streets. It's my 2 cents up.
Councilmember Chipola.
So just thinking through the generators real fast. So generators can only operate during construction hours.
Yes.
How are they expected to have power? Because they're not going to have these engineered solutions.
We're going to ask for verification of batteries that can be have enough amp hours to last overnight.
And is there a noise ordinance that's going to be enforced alongside this?
Well, that's why we're asking for the construction hours. That's, the noise ordinance generally follows those construction times.
Councilmember Molden.
I had a question about flag streets. What about the residents that are stacked on one street? And also, if a resident already has a permit for a storage container, how will that impact their ability to put an RV on it?
Yeah,
as
and
well?
likely those would be a couple of examples where we probably wouldn't be able to accommodate it if it's a street that just is not going to work, too congested. If they already have a container there, or they're going to be staging construction equipment, that's another question we're going to ask them. So we're going to look at this very holistically. What is your final rebuilding process going to look like? And we're really going to encourage them to be on the lot if they can, or of course seek alternate methods of housing if they can do that.
Councilmember Marquez?
Hi. So if somebody wants to make public comment, where do they go to get that to
Okay,
you?
I'm going to give you that information right now, and I'll also give it to you so you can post it on your website. And it's a really cool email. It's parking, PARKING, at publicworks.lacounty.gov, and I'll read it again. And I actually didn't do it exactly. I said Public Works. I'm going to read it again and write it. Parking, PARKING, at PW. There you go. I said Public Works. I apologize. I see PW and I say Public Works. So pw.lacounty.gov. And a quick note, that is also some email you can use if you have any parking issues in Altadena. So it's good to keep handy.
Council members, any more questions? Councilmember Carmen?
Just a quick question. So is this the email that, say you're a neighbor of somebody who's on the block with RVs and one of the neighbors who has an RV has done something not abiding by what they're supposed to be abiding by?
Right.
How does that neighbor, like what happened? Can a neighbor reach out and say, hey, I think this neighbor of mine with an RV is doing something he's not supposed to be doing or whatever? Is there some way that they can reach out? Because obviously resources are pretty thin with everyone else. I'm just wondering if there's a contact or a way for them to engage with you or to let folks know, hey,
this could
our
be,
neighbor's doing something not supposed to be doing, basically.
Yeah, this could be one way to reach out. We could investigate, or we could get together with our parking enforcement partners at the sheriff and make sure they're aware of that and work with them on that.
Okay, and then is it sort of like a three strikes? Like what happens if that same person's getting called upon multiple times? Does their permit get retracted? Like what happens?
Yeah, so the plan is, as I see it, is one warning. You know, here's what you're doing that's a violation, and then your permit is revoked. And it, depends on circumstance. If it's something that was inadvertent, maybe a little different. But yeah, I think it would be a one time, one warning, and then one permit revocation.
Councilmember Anderson.
Can you thin slice between when people would be reaching out to you at parking at PW versus going to parking enforcement with the sheriff?
Okay, and actually the sheriff's here. I don't know, Captain Marquez, if you could help with that, is as far as if they needed to reach out to you for a parking enforcement issue, like I said, is we could pass that along for sure, but maybe there's
I guess my question is which ones come under your purview?
Yeah,
the parking enforcement would come under the sheriff's purview. However, we don't get involved in housing issues or permit issues.
Yeah, so I guess the easy way to say it is if they had a permit that we issued, then the sheriff would know to not issue any kind of parking citation. But then they could still refer to us to make sure they're complying with their permit. Then if it didn't have a placard or a permit, then it's not legally parked, and then the sheriff could take over with parking enforcement.
All right, I'll take two more questions, but I want to make sure we hear from the public and not make them stay too late. Councilmember Wong and then Councilmember Yu.
I'm sure there must be a plan, but what is the safety plan as it relates to if there are so many of these motorhomes and then large construction equipment, and then because we don't have sidewalks in a lot of our community, it seems to me there has to be a limit on how many could actually.
Yeah, and it may, and it is, I hate to say first come, first serve, but if you get a proliferation of construction equipment. Now, one of the things we're going to do is predict what the traffic's going to look like, knowing all the houses are going to be constructed. We'll try to look at what the staging of that construction schedule is. But yeah, we're going to look ahead, and if it's a street of narrow homes that are all here, we may say this isn't going to work because everyone would have the right to that permit, and then by the time you're done, it would just be too much.
Councilmember Yu.
When do you anticipate this taking effect?
I'd like to hear from the community. So, like I said, I don't know if maybe we could seek input from you in some sort of letter authorization. But we want to hear from you first. We want to hear from the community. We want to know you guys are good with this.
Got it.
Thank you. We'll wrap it up, but I will tell you that this body intends to submit something that will reflect what the community feels about this subject. Excellent. And we look forward to the community making their feelings on that known later in general public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the Altadena Library and Altadena Library Director Nic Winslow.
Hello. Good evening. I think I win the competition wearing green. I mean, come on. My mom's 100% Irish. I'm obligated, so. Good evening, Chairperson, council members, so many members of the public. Good to see you. I'm Nic Winslow. I'm the District Director for the Altadena Library District. And I know I'm being timed, so I'll try to be quick. So as many of you, I'm sure, are aware, the main library is closed. So wanted to provide an update on all of the things that we're doing to provide library services for the community right now. Happy that we reopened our Bob Lucas last August. It is open 7 days a week. This is the first time libraries have been open on Sunday since I've been here and in many years. Open Monday through Thursday, 10 to 8, so evening hours every day of the weekdays. Friday and Saturday, 10 to 5, and Sunday, 1 to 5. We also have our Altadena Library at Loma Alta Park, open Monday through Thursday, 10 to 6, and Friday and Saturday, 10 to 5. Computer and printing services are available at both locations, and we are relocating our Fab Lab to the computer center, the computer room up at Loma Alta Park. That's going to open in April, so really excited about that. We're housing our passport services office here at the community center, as well as at our Bob Lucas Library. So Monday through Friday, we're going to issue passports here, and on weekends at Bob Lucas Library, by appointment only, so just give us a call. We also have our free little libraries at Webster's, Community Pharmacy, and Fair Oaks Burger, as well as our 2 library materials vending machines open 24/7 at Loma Alta Park and Prime Pizza. We also have deployed our 2 mobile library vans throughout the community. We have consistent stops throughout the week. I have flyers on the table in the back. We're at Grocery Outlet from 10 to 12:30 on Tuesday mornings, at Fair Oaks Burger from 3 to 5:30 on Tuesday afternoons. Thursdays, 10 to 12:30 at Triangle Park right next to El Patron, and at Prime Pizza on Thursdays from 2:30 to 5. You can check out, get a library card, return your items, just really get access to library services at these spots as well. And starting in April, we're going to be at Kids Space in Pasadena every Friday as well. We completed the Bob Lucas mural project. If you haven't been over there, I highly recommend you go take a look. We involved Edgar Arsenault, who was the original muralist that worked with the Franklin Elementary School kids to produce this. There's a wall in the regular parking lot as well as inside the new reading garden. Inside the reading garden is basically based on the original mural, and then the one outside is new. So highly recommend you go take a look. It's beautiful. Our main library project is underway. Thank you so much to Nick for speaking at our groundbreaking and all the council members who showed up for that. We have our LA County CUP conditional use permit hearing coming up with the Regional Planning Commission April 22nd at 9 a.m. We would love community members to show up either virtually or in person to vouch for the project. I can like cut it off if you guys want, if you have any questions. Visit our website, our events page. We have lots of things going on, Poets Laureate, you name it. Journaling with cats this Friday, by the way, in Pasadena. More than 1 cat per person, from what I was told. So lots of really great programs, but happy to answer any questions you have. I know it's going to be a long meeting.
Thank you, Nikki.
Of course.
Do we have questions? And we'll make sure we post, and we do link your library website, which is fantastic, to ours. Any questions, council? All right, thank you, Nikki, as always. To special presentations, we're bringing SCE up, we're bringing Bradley. Oh, sorry, 4.3, Historical Society in addition. Do we have the name?
Thank you. Good evening, I'm Carrie Chasteen. I'm here on behalf of the Altadena Historical Society. My intent is to get the word out. We are currently sponsoring a history contest open to all 8th grade students in the area. It is free to participate. The intent is to learn about Altadena, including resources lost in the Eaton fire. Submissions can range from essays to podcasts to TikTok videos to sculptures or paintings. The deadline is April 24th. Electronic submissions can be made through Dropbox or in person here at the Community Center during regular business hours. The archives are available to assist with an advance appointment. Cash prizes will be presented during an awards ceremony held here in the Community Center on May 16th at 10 a.m. More information is available on our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I almost skipped right over you. Thank you so much. Any questions, Council? All right, we'll move on to our special presentation, SCE, Bradley Pensek. Bradley, I've forgotten your title. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Good evening. So Brad Pensek with Southern California Edison, and I am a senior manager responsible for the rebuild efforts in Altadena as well as Malibu. Well, good evening, council and community. So I'm here tonight just to kind of give you a brief update and fill you in on some things that have been happening with our current rebuild status and where we're at. First off, I want to say thank you tonight for allowing us time on the agenda and to be able to stand before you today. So as you know, SE is fully committed to the rebuild efforts and recovery, working alongside with community members to create a stronger, safer, and more resilient future. We are equally committed to transparency and community engagement. We recognize the customer experience can be improved, particularly as it relates to communications around the undergrounding in the construction and planned areas. We are working to improve our customer communications and providing proactive updates. Together, we know that we can turn shared priorities into informed actions that can support the lasting recovery. So we do know that there are some frustrations and some misunderstandings over issues such as the cost customers must incur to connect to SCE's underground infrastructure, the request to move pad mount transformers to different locations, and of course concerns with impacts to surviving trees. So I'm going to start and go through just a little bit on where we are with the rebuild status and the progress. So there's currently, and just as a reminder, in Altadena and the surrounding areas affected by the Eaton fire, we are prioritizing about 63 miles of distribution lines for undergrounding. Of that, this does include circuits in what's known as the high fire risk area, or the HFRA, which accounts for about 40 miles. And this is generally the area that's closest to the canyon. There's also about 23 miles in the non-HFRA where properties were severely damaged and rebuilding is similar to that of new construction and where SCE infrastructure needs to be replaced. So distribution miles that were impacted by the Eaton fire and are not converted to underground will remain overhead, but they will be hardened with covered conductor. It's another proven and effective wildfire risk mitigation strategy that we've employed throughout our territory. So as SCE undergrounds power lines to support the recovery and wildfire resiliency in Altadena, every home and business will need electrical service, and we are here to provide that. So in looking at what we're doing for 2026, I think might go to the next slide. It's going to be a little small on that screen from back here for sure. This information is available on our websites as well, but that really accounts for what we're doing. So you can kind of see the red lines on there do kind of show where our proposed lines are, and you'll see it kind of really spans across the entire community all the way from the west to the east. And you know, there's segments, pieces kind of sprinkled within throughout there. So we're currently in construction on about 4 miles, and I'm going to give some details on that if we jump to the next slide. So this one is the Rosebud project, and as you can see on that one, that's east of Lake Avenue on East Palm Street and Maiden Lane and north of Altadena Drive. We do have an estimated completion for our civil undergrounding work by the end of April. So just for clarity, the civil underground portion is where we actually do our trenching. We install our conduits, our structures, and our pad mounts in order to get ready to place the electrical equipment and wires within those conduits. Next slide. It's a little bit hard to see on this one. This is the Marathon project. The Marathon, it's on Marathon Road between Fair Oaks and Marengo. It has an estimated completion date for both civil and electrical by the end of March. So we are looking forward in the next few weeks to completing a few more miles. It kind of equates out to, again, about 4 miles of new undergrounding. We're also going to soon begin construction on about another 2 miles. Kind of in the following projects, we don't have slides on those, but I'll just kind of give you some little talk points here on where they are. So North Maiden Lane and Mount Curve Avenue, known as the Rosebud project. We have an estimated start towards the end of April with an estimated completion around the end of June. The area between Holliston, Altadena Drive, Allen Avenue, and Mendocino, known as the Oaks Project. We're looking at starting that project around the beginning of April with an estimated completion around the end of June. And then the area between Marengo, Calaveras, Glenrose, and Mariposa, known as the Homewood Project, with an estimated start beginning of April, and an estimated completion in the area is also towards the end of June. So some reminders as what to expect when Edison is out there. Just to be kind of clear and level set, there has been some safety concerns that came up, so kind of piggybacking along with what the Sheriff's Department shared. Just to be expected of some traffic delays, detours, large trucks and vehicles, some parking adjustments, noise, dust, debris, which will be controlled and cleaned in construction zone areas, the trenching and excavating, performing the work with our key stakeholders, including vegetation, arborist, and partnering with LA County, and installing conduits for the SCE conductors and cable, as I mentioned, and then installing underground and above ground structures, primary, secondary, and service caps, which have also been a topic that we've been addressing with the community, and then performing overhead to underground cutovers. So as we get our cables in the ground, we then go by in certain areas where there may be existing overhead that we are planning to remove once we have that underground in place. So safety is a big one for us in our crews, and there has been some close calls with vehicle traffic and just people entering the work zone. So we just kind of want to take a minute to remind everybody, when you do see the crews out there, maintain a safe vehicle speed in those construction areas. It's important not only for you, but our crews and just the public in general. So kind of jumping ahead a little bit on a few things here. Each property is different, and we recognize that, and it presents different circumstances. So we do encourage customers to reach out to one of our service planners to discuss considerations at their properties. These planners will help get the customer the right information and explain the work that may be needed specific to their location. In some cases, we need access to the private property and are going to work with property owners to get permission, known as the right of entry, and then later on the easements, in order to allow our underground work to take place. So the right of entries, those grant us temporary permission to the entities, such as Edison, to enter, access the property for specific purposes. So on some of those flag lots, the private roads, where it's a critical pathway for us to get electricity to feed all the homes there, that's one of those areas that we need to really work and partner together to find what's going to work for everybody so that we can build out that system in those areas. So we're here to help the community understand the rebuild options, provide education through the recovery process. Our customer support and information, we also continue to have in-person support that's located at LA County's One-Stop Permit Center. Kind of everybody knows is the one-stop shop in Altadena. We will keep staffing the one-stop as we transition fully to our soon-to-open Arch. That one is the Altadena Rebuild Community Hub, and we are planning to open that in the next coming weeks. We're getting really close to being able to have that staffed, and customers will be encouraged and can walk in at any time with no appointments necessary to come in, meet with a planner, meet with consumer affairs specialist, and have any type of questions addressed, or at least bring the concerns to us so that we can work closely with the community. You can also, by coming into that, you can bring building inquiries, planning inquiries such as your temporary power pole requirements, the service reconnections, any type of panel upgrades, and of course for the undergrounding information that's occurring within the city and your specific street and areas. We'll also have information available on SCE programs and services. So available on our website also, but there is a lot of information around energy efficiency, appliance rebates, and other potential savings that customers can benefit from that we can also help direct them to as well. Sorry, scrolling to the next one here. On this one, we kind of wanted to share a picture. There's been a lot of questions coming around the green boxes, as everybody calls them. These are our distribution pad mount transformers, and these you'll be seeing kind of popping up in the areas as we complete the work in the underground. Now, these are above ground equipment that sit on a concrete pad and typically have a small box underneath them with the conduit that we're installing in the streets to be able to come in and bring that electrical power to that transformer. The purpose of that transformer is to take our high voltage electricity and we step it down to what you're commonly used to in your household voltage. So the 120/240 service that your panel feeds. You'll see this one, I kind of thought this was a good picture. There's a little bit of a retaining wall. It's set back from the curb, so we have protection there so that it's kind of away from traffic. Can be landscaped on 3 sides of it. We just ask that the front of the transformer to allow for maintenance and inspections and anything that might happen be open. But of course, we're also open to any other suggestions. And one of those suggestions typically comes from the location and placement. We work very hard to make sure that we are meeting the needs for the distribution circuitry, and we work to place those in the best possible places that also meet the needs for the homes as well as the electrical circuits themselves. Now, we have had instances where, there's cases where it might not be the best placement, or it might be, a different location that, than what we would have planned for, or that a customer would like to be moved. And that's when we encourage to reach out and work with us, because we are willing to come out, take a look at it, and try to find an amicable solution to move it within reason, provided it doesn't, disrupt the rest of the design, cause any other issues or safety issues. But it's something that we're very open to having that conversation with, and being able to identify what might work best for not just the community, but of course the owner that the property might be impacted by. So one of the concerns that has been going around, especially with our placement of equipment in our trench path, has been the rebuilding and undergrounding work that could unintentionally damage or remove Altadena's legacy trees, particularly through the root disturbance. One of these issues has always come to light when we ran across some areas, and we've been working closely with community members, some of which are in this room that I've been able to finally meet tonight for the first time, to be able to go out and address them one-on-one. And it might seem like a lot, but sometimes that's the best way to do it, in order for us to get out there, understand the concerns, and then be able to take it back and identify if there's a possible solution that we can find to reach an amicable placement of something, that maybe, again, we might have missed something, or we might not have seen. Say the one thing that we have ran across is, there are some homes that are being rebuilt where they might be flipping the lot. So the driveway might be on the right, and now in the future proposal, it might be on the left. And in those are the cases, we are looking to make sure that we can accommodate those placements, so that we're not hindering the rebuild effort of the customer in that case. One of the other situations too is our service stubs, where we are providing that conduit to be picked up by the customer for their undergrounding on the new rebuilds, as well as the standing homes. And it's oftentimes that, we're doing our diligence to make sure that we're trying to follow from what we've seen on Google Earth, where foundations might have been, existing driveways, to find proper placement for that. That would be the most economical, feasible, straight path for the customer to be able to connect to, and give that option for them. Now, we know that's always not going to be in the right place. Again, when the home foundation might flip, the layout might change, and the panel might move from, say, again, the right to the left. We want to make sure that we can work with the customers as well to move those stub out points, to keep that most straight line path, because it's beneficial to us from the electrical side, but it's also a cost-driven component to help keep things reasonable for the community and the customers that are rebuilding as well. So it seems like a daunting task, and there's a lot. We have a lot of information that comes into us daily from customers, and we're working to address those as we go. Bear with us on some things. Some days it could be a couple inquiries, and some days it's several dozen. And we do have a team that's working through there and doing the homework, and there has to be some research that goes on to be able to kind of dig through things, look at what the electrical requirements are, look at how we're serving the streets, the homes that are there or proposed to be there, to make sure that we're doing it in the right ways possible. So there is some talk also, there's been some confusion and some misunderstanding on the underground service connection costs that the customers bear. So our wildfire mitigation plan builds on efforts to address immediate and long-term wildfire risk in response to the evolving community needs and the extreme weather events. The civil construction costs, which typically include the conduit and the trenching to occur on the customer's private property, are costs typically that the customer would carry, and that is especially in the new construction rebuild. And one of those things, of course, as it goes through, is Edison is working to try to find ways to help partner with LA County, as they have gone through to submit for the FEMA funding through Cal OES, and we've been partnering with them to provide them information and help support that effort as they go through their submittal process for that. We also have several initiatives on our side that we're looking to do, and we have submitted to the CPUC to look at helping find ways to help offset the customer cost, and we're just waiting some decisions back on that. So there's some things pending, but hopefully we're going to see some responses on those within the next few months, if not sooner. The last thing I want to touch on is our wildfire recovery compensation program. So this voluntary program will help eligible community members impacted by the Eaton fire to recover and rebuild faster. It allows those impacted to focus on healing rather than drawn out litigation and a multi-year investigation. The direct claims program will lead to fast resolutions with one streamlined application to submit claims for those eligible community members within the Eaton fire perimeter. Now, we just announced a few weeks ago that became effective immediately and retroactively that claimants represented by counsel at the time they submit a claim can now be compensated for 20% of net damages in a settlement offer to apply towards legal expenses. It was previously set at 10%. Settlement offers for tenants will now cover up to 3 months of housing assistance at the higher of actual pre-fire rental rates or monthly fair rental value. So submitting a claim on average takes less than 2 hours. Settlement offers are delivered within 90 days of fully documented, substantially completed claims. Payments are made within 30 days after all conditions in the settlement agreement have been satisfied. Many offers and payments are being processed in a fraction of that time. We continue to participate in calls and meetings to promote the program and welcome the opportunity to brief any organization or group about the compensation program. Some quick stats I'll leave you with on that is, as of yesterday, there's been 2,694 claims have been submitted. 821 offers have been extended, totaling more than $248.9 million. 123 claim payments have already been made or are in process to individuals, totaling $31.3 million. So we've seen a lot of uptick on that and some activity on that. The last thing I'll say is that I do have a support group here with me. So we have several representatives from Edison, including those from the Wildfire Recovery Compensation Program, that will be remaining afterwards to take any questions or provide any information that you might have. And just again, thank you to the community and the council for allowing us to be here tonight.
Thank you. Wow. All right. Could you have your cohorts please raise their hands so people can recognize and find them later? Keep them up, please, so the community can see. All right. And then I'm going to turn to council questions. Thank you for raising your hands. You can lower them. Thank you, Dave. I'm going to turn to council, who I will say I appreciate that the council members at this table, many of them have engaged with their community in ways that we don't normally. So I appreciate that hard work on the ground. So as we turn to their questions, I'll certainly be getting to community questions next. I'll start with Councilmember Chipola.
Brad, thank you for being here. A couple questions. So you mentioned you're going to improve communication. You recognize the need to improve communication around undergrounding. How exactly do you intend to improve communication with residents?
So we have partnered with a team that's going to be supporting direct customer engagement and outreach. We're looking to strategize and find ways to get out there before the work takes place, to be able to try to identify ways to communicate out, whether that's through social media channels or through online presence, as well as engaging more in the community, potentially even on the street, as we're getting close to being able to start work. We also have this upcoming Saturday, we will have presence at the, and apologies if I get it wrong, the Pasadena Certified Organic Farmers Market. We will have presence there from our outreach team, as well as from our land acquisitions team that's there to help support any questions on the ROEs. So working really to get out into the community.
Okay, second question. You mentioned the cost burden to residents connecting to branches. What is Edison's projected cost, both for new construction and for existing homes, to connect to branch circuits?
So we completed some initial surveys last year in order to present and submit some things to the CPUC and looking to help get some potential relief on funding, whatever mechanism that might be, through rebates or, you know, any method we can to help offset that. And the numbers that we went through last year were anywhere between $8,000 and $10,000 per home.
That's for new construction?
That is for even standing homes. So new construction brings about a little bit different type, because on new construction, there can be typical work done with foundation and digging that the underground conduits can be dug or included when third parties such as communication or cable lines, as well as water and sewer. There's always the potential that they're going to be trenching from the new home to the property line or reconnecting into those utilities as well. So there's a difference in what the direct cost can be. And that can alter the price on some of the quotes that are coming in. So it's very dependent upon the owner, the contractor, and ultimately their design they're going with on that new construction, how to tie it back in.
So the average cost for new construction and standing homes is the same?
We're using the same numbers as a baseline right now.
Okay. You mentioned that overhead lines will be removed. When will they be removed?
So in areas where we are undergrounding and there will be overhead lines that are a part of that specific line section to be converted to underground, once the underground is energized, those lines will be removed in that segment that it pertains to. There are some overhead lines that are not going to be undergrounded, and that could be for a multitude of reasons, including its main line, its lines that were put back in from the restoration and rebuild effort initially to be able to support larger pockets of standing home, or where there wasn't as much devastation that allowed us to pick homes back up faster than waiting for a potential undergrounding that could take years.
Will you remove those overhead power lines if not all residents on a circuit have connected to underground?
So as of right now, we're pursuing the undergrounding as our primary option, and we're working with the customers to make sure that we can, get our main distribution lines in the ground. If there is a standing home, and that home is still standing, they have the choice right now to remain overhead, and that would be at no cost to them as part of the restoration.
Thank you, Brad.
Councilmember Carmody?
Yeah, thank you. Regarding standing homes and the trenching part of this, what would you estimate the timeline be for the homeowners to expect that trenching to be done before it's completed and everything is completed for their specific home? What does that timeline look like for folks who've gone through a lot already and now they have to wait for the trenching to be done and all that other stuff?
Are we talking about our main lines in the street, or the way it was worded? I'm just making sure I'm understanding.
Because if there's lines coming from one person's home right to the street, do you have to trench their property in order to put those lines underground, I guess is my question.
So let me answer it from this way. So we're putting our main infrastructure into the streets, and then from there, we will go and provide attachment points to each property, to each parcel. And it's up to the customer at that time on when they want to connect, so there's no requirements by us to meet a certain time frame. If they are a standing home, then they can still remain overhead until potential funding comes around, or they make the choice to go underground.
And if they decide to connect, then you have to trench their...
Then they would have to trench, yes.
So that's my question, is how long will that trenching part take before it's completed from that specific homeowner?
That would be entirely up to the property owner, because Edison does not perform that work on their private property.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Vega?
So you mentioned that the homeowner should be getting in touch with the service team. But is there an email? Is there a phone number? I know you mentioned being at the farmer's market, but with so many people, maybe some don't have the ability to be online, to go to social media, or they're not seniors. Is there a dedicated email or phone number for this community for people to be able to reach out to the service team?
Yes, there is. We actually have both. So I'm not going to recall the 800 number, but we can provide that so it can go out in materials. But we have a dedicated 800 number for Altadena that the community can call and put their questions in, and it'll get routed the same way as going online. Our dedicated project email right now is sceprojects@sce.com, and that will route to the team here in Altadena. It helps if it's put in the subject line, Altadena, and an address, and then we just ask the customers don't put any information that they don't want to share, because it could be seen by a lot, but it'll all be internal with Edison. But as long as we have the name and an address, and then of course any question that comes in, we can go through and respond that way as well. But that 800 number will generate the customer talking to someone, and they will initiate, if you will, the internal email to get the support that customer's looking for.
That's a different 800 number than just the regular Edison number?
That is correct. It's dedicated specifically to Altadena and the rebuild.
And they'll be able to get somebody?
Yes.
Okay. My second question is, we had a lot of public comment on the trees and oak trees, and the community feeling like there was no regard for the trees in the community. So I wanted to find out if you could speak to that and how that's being considered.
I can, and we also thank the community for bringing, information that's important to them up to us, just to make sure that we're also doing our diligence. So during the design phase, we work with our internal certified arborists to review our plans, to do job walks, to be a part of that process from the very beginning in the first steps, to make sure that our trench path, our equipment locations would not cause any negative impacts to the tree systems and the roots. If there is a potential for that, then we also look at other ways to do essentially our digging and trenching. We have other methods, such as being able to use a water jet, which is basically like a high pressure hose, to be able to blast the dirt away, and then we vacuum out the mud, leaving ultimately the trench, but the roots undisturbed. So instead of going through with a backhoe or trenching through and tearing them up, we mitigate it that way by essentially blasting the dirt away from them. There are other means where it might be feasible to hand dig, and that's when, instead of using equipment, when we get close to the tree itself and to the trunk or within the drip line, then the crews will switch to hand digging to make sure that they are also being aware of what they're digging into, especially for smaller sections as they get close to where their final stopping point would be. Now, during that process, that's the construction. The construction also, the crews are trained to observe as they're digging and know when to switch when they're getting closer to the trees, or they might start realizing they're getting close to it. So they are constantly monitoring the trench and their construction activities as they're proceeding. Now, we also have partnered with LA County as well, who has had their arborist come out and walk some of the same jobs and the concerns, because we wanted to really look at it holistically from the community's impacts and what it might mean, to make sure that it's not just single-sided, that we are looking at it from multi-angles, but with certified arborists that are experienced in that field.
Councilmember Marona.
Hi, I know that your standard is the pad mount transformer when it comes to this. I do understand that is the ability to do vaults. Why are you not doing that here, even though it isn't your standard? Is it just because it's a standard? Is it cheaper? Is it easier? What exactly is the reason that there's not transformers underground?
Sure, a few
Number
reasons. One of the first things is that the safety side of it, when any equipment is underground or subsurface in those vaults, there is a different level of safety that comes with it, including the operation, maintenance, and inspection of those. The safety risk goes up a lot compared to having something that is sitting fully enclosed and protected that's above ground. So it's a safer alternative for us for crews as well as the public, because now we don't have larger structures that are buried underground. The other side of that does come down to cost. The long-term cost of ownership is less to have the above-ground pad-mounted equipment, because it does allow us to provide better inspections, understand where our equipment is, as well as if there is a failure, it's a lot faster and easier to change it out so that we can restore service to the customers that have been impacted by it.
And I think I also heard you say that if a handhole perhaps is on the opposite side now or something, one could go to the one-stop shop or contact the service planner that has the design if they want to move that, because that would increase the cost of the customer's trenching if it's on the wrong side, correct?
That's correct. And we want to make sure we can accommodate that as much as possible when it makes sense, and of course, when we can do it. And so far, we're seeing a high success rate on that. I don't believe to date since I've been here, we have actually denied any of that. We've actually made some significant changes even to our designs to accommodate even one home, because it's the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Moronis.
Yeah, just a question, you mentioned a couple upcoming projects that seem to be, within a certain time period. Is there a proactive notification process that SE is going through for the property owners within those areas? And if so, how much advance notice will they be given before any work was to commence?
So when we began a lot of work towards the end of last year, as we were working in some areas, especially as we got into third and fourth quarter, we do have standard protocols for sending out what we call our Dear Neighbor letters, which identify the properties that are going to be impacted by the work, or could be in front of their home, or even close to proximity of where we'll have crews. And those properties are identified, and using the contact information that's been provided from their service accounts, we send out information to provide the heads up of what's coming and what to expect, as well as some contact information that may be necessary. Now, one thing that's important is we understand that there are, property owners and homeowners that are not on site and may have moved. I know it's been addressed a few times, but we would like to also encourage making sure that we have the updated contact information. There's still service accounts that exist, and still having that information will help us to make sure we're getting to the right people, as well as the mail forwarding if necessary, because to the earlier point, not everything can be done via email, but we try to attempt, all avenues of communication that we can. We understand that there's still a gap there because it's a different, environment, and that it may be harder to track down, some individual property owners. And a part of that new customer engagement piece we're doing is we're working to solutionize and find ways to help close that gap, to be, again, more informed before the work starts.
Okay, but is there a standard time period between, let's say, the good neighbor letter going out and SE willing to start the work if there is no engagement, or they're unable to get in contact with some of the property owners?
Well, I don't have the specific time frame of what we would typically do. I know it goes out usually several weeks before to allow kind of for that heads up, as opposed to the next day, unless that's a kind of an emergency outage or something is unplanned that we wouldn't be able to notify. But we do try to give advanced enough notice to have, any concerns, or, just have awareness and help plan for it. Because oftentimes we like to make those informed notices, so that if it's going to impact, access to driveways or anything like that, then we can work with those community members to make sure that we have areas for them to, park if we're going to be trenching in front of their driveway, which might prevent access. And then, of course, work with them so that by the end of every day that they do have access back to their home. But I don't have the exact time frame on that one.
Okay.
Councilmember Stewart Gordon.
Hi. You mentioned that you have certified arborists to assist with the oak tree removal. Are there information available on your website? If so, the certification, and are they contracting the work out to other people? If so, are there supervising to make sure that they actually know what they're doing?
So the arborists that we have that are certified are on staff with Edison. They are not contracted. They are not used on other projects. They are exclusively for our crews to be able to maintain it. But they do require the same certification as an arborist that would be on the outside with any other company. So we follow the regular standards for that. It's not anything special being within Edison.
Okay, and the other question is, you mentioned that you're going to have your own separate one-stop shop. I may have missed it. I don't know if you mentioned where it is and when is it going to be available for residents to actually come.
So that one's going to be the Altadena Rebuild Community Hub. We commonly call it the ARCH, just for the abbreviation on it.
Okay.
And it's located on Fair Oaks at 2680, just above Fair Oaks Burger on the same side of the street.
Thank
And
you.
we're looking to have that one open. The goal is by the end of the month. So we should have something happening on that soon, and we're looking to make sure that we can kind of announce when that's going to happen, again, through multiple channels and through our connections to the community and organizations such as the town council.
Councilmember Wong?
Hi, Bradley. It's on the
Sorry,
underground.
Councilmember Wilkins. First I'll go to
No,
Councilmember Wong, and then I'll come over to you.
I heard a W and I didn't buy St. Patty's beer.
All right.
I speak to everyone I can everywhere about this fire and how it changed our lives. And I got a guy who, concrete that I dragged over here to bore with the town council meeting. But I think part of the frustration, folks, they're barely making the dollars per square foot, right? To pan out, and then they see 10 to 20K, and they're like, come on, I'm down and you're sort of kicking me. So my guess is that, our processes and fees for new construction are sort of based on working big old developers like Lennar, and, everything's done in scale, and no one thinks about, it's just a business. It's how it's done in the pros, but we're residential folks thrown into this fire rebuilding. We don't know any of these things, but our SE's processes are sort of working as if we're Lennar, versus Reggie, who's never thought about trenching before. It's like, what the hell is trenching, right? And so I think we need to be flexible. I say we because I do work for the company, flexible about how we deal with customers and not think they're a Lennar and they do this for a living. They're struggling to make the numbers work, right? And so how do you make it meet their needs is sort of one folks to think about that. I know Pasadena Water places their undergrounding fees across all customer bills. Why can't we do that for trenching?
The last part, I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
Pasadena Water and Power, they place undergrounding fees on customers' bills. Because they're doing, why can't we do that, at least for the trenching? It's like 10,000. Why can't we do that? I mean, I'm just putting it out there as, think about, these are not Lennar professional developers here. These are regular folks trying to get their lives back, right? So how can we work differently to make their lives easier, as opposed to saying, well, that's not my department. The commission's making us do that. That's not a very satisfactory answer, I think. So just think, we're not, big developers who do this all the time. We're regular folks, and it's a big hassle, and why can't you just fix this for us, Edison? So that's my question. Just think outside the box.
Yeah, fix it for us. Yeah. I appreciate that. And one thing that I would like to say is, I'm not going to say the CPUC part, right? We do have, regulations that we are governed by with the rules and tariffs that are established.
25 years of that.
So we have to work through some of those as well.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I would like to just kind of reiterate is that what we are doing to work individually with customers and address those concerns on individual properties is something that we do at Edison as a whole. You don't have to be Lennar, you don't have to be a larger builder to get the type of service that we're looking for that one-on-one individual connection. So that's why we're looking at the stub outs when something comes. I get emails every day from customers that just want to know, hey, what's going on the street? What's happening with the generator that's been on the street running for a while? And those are the ones that we are literally taking and handling on the one-on-one situations, providing direct responses back through a lot of individuals in the company, so that it's not just going through an automated system or saying, thanks, we'll get back to you.
Exactly.
We really are working to try to give that personalized connection to the community because we feel it's important. What we do understand is that not every lot is the same, whether it's for construction or reconnection, but also for what you're rebuilding and what the owners are going back through and the different circumstances and everything that everyone has been through. The last thing Edison wants to do is be another stop block in that process. We want to be a partner to help get everybody back rebuilt.
So the researcher in me hears people not feeling that love yet, is what I'm telling you. So make sure we get that out there by actions, right?
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that while it's not the single solution, but with the opening of the Altadena Rebuild Community Hub, giving a place for customers to come that's directly in the community and interface with us one-on-one as opposed to going through an 800 number or an email or a website, you can come in and get that individualized service face-to-face and not have to worry about going through the technology challenges or online struggles.
We're going to take 2 more council member questions, then I want to hear public comment, please. I'll go to Council Member Molden and then Wong. They both had their hands up.
I mean, just to piggyback on what my fellow council member said, maybe consider doing more project management with the community instead of a site-by-site basis. But I had a timing question. So my understanding is the overhead and the underground both have to be active for the customer to connect. How long does the customer have to connect? How long will you keep the overground and the underground active for them to connect to it?
So if it's in a situation where we are undergrounding and then we will be removing, say, a property line, rear property line pole line that we have there that they're currently fed from, we will make all the necessary connections and everything utilizing the new underground. And the timing of that, the what we would call our cutover, to remove them from the overhead to the underground, typically would happen within a short time frame. It depends on situation, the length and size of the run that we're energizing, the number of switching, transformers, et cetera, that have to be checked, but it can typically be done within a few hours.
Councilmember Wong.
Hi, so my question is about the pad boxes. Are those placed in the public right-of-way of the properties in general?
Our first goal of placement is to go within the public right-of-way or the franchise, as we, as a utility, operate rights to be within those in coordination with LA County and through, several permitting and means of legalities that it goes through. So our first placement is always to go for the public right-of-way as opposed to being on private property.
Yeah, so just in looking at a couple of the pictures, it looked like there was a utility pole and a pad box. So how do you then, if you do that, maybe that's a public works decision as well, because then that does limit ADA accessibility. So I'm looking on the map here, Fair Oaks, for example, Upper Fair Oaks, that doesn't necessarily, yet it has public right-of-way, but it's also the main transit corridor for our community. And so actually getting to where you want to go means you have to walk along that street. So I don't know if you have other designs as well that you might be able to implement that aren't as obtrusive to the public right-of-way?
We definitely try to be respectful of that. And the one thing we do is if there's sidewalks, then we work to also meet the ADA requirements. And when it's just open franchise, then there's a little bit of difference of approach that it goes to. But the idea is not to place it where it would be totally obstructing, because we also don't want to have the impact of that frontage to the customer's property that may reside right behind it.
Do you have an alternate design that might be less, other than the box? Are there other designs that are less? I think Milissa actually asked that question. Yeah.
Right, getting into the undergrounding of the equipment is not the first method that we do, because there's other means that we have to consider first. Again, looking after the safety, reliability, and affordability component before we move into the underground, because the cost does raise significantly and still poses a safety risk.
Apologies, Councilmember Rowledge. I'd like to get to public comment. Do you have a quick question? Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. So I feel like I just have to level set a little bit, because you were referring to this work as mitigation and safety, but SCE, as I understand it, is able to put this work into a memorandum account, and then ultimately that work will be added to your rate base. And so ultimately SCE will be able to collect a profit on this, and which I believe is up to 10%. I just feel it's inadequate to come and say that you're working on finding funding for the trenching on private property, when your equipment will be able to return you a profit, and the equipment that's put on private property will not return a profit to private property owners. It will end up costing them thousands of dollars. So I would just like to say that my question, I guess, is, in a project that is claiming to do mitigation and safety, how would the transition to safety be if the removal of overhead risk remain, how can the project ensure a neighborhood-wide transition to safety if the removal of overhead risks remaining individuals, residents, personal financial liquidity? Sorry, that was a little bit garbled, but you're leaving behind residents who cannot afford to put in the trenching that your equipment acquires. So how can those residents be served by your equipment if you're leaving them behind in the process?
I appreciate the comment. I won't have a lot of details I can share on financials, just in full transparency. That's not my expertise in the company. That's a part of it that I just don't have the experience on cost recovery and how all that works. My career has been in planning and design with a background in engineering and construction for the time I've been at the company. So the financial aspect is a little bit different. I can't fully address that, but would be happy to try to engage with you on that or get a little bit more to see if we can find some other way to answer that for you. Now, when it comes back to the customer side of things, I just want to remind that if it is a standing home, we are making the means to be able to reconnect them and stay overhead without any panel requirements being done, without having to trench, and not do anything to where the customer would have to pay for that. We are fully doing that as part of our restoration effort to maintain the existing facilities they have and feed them back overhead. To address some of the risk components, there's different levels of risk associated with different levels of our voltages and our conductors on the poles. So depending on what those voltages are and how it's built, they come with a different level of risk. So as we go through, and our goal is to underground our primary cable, as that comes with the highest risk that we are looking to mitigate in order to make the system safer and protect the community and harden the system for it.
Thank you again. I'm going to turn to the SCE public comment, but council, I'm going to make a decision to go ahead and go immediately into general public comment after our SCE comment. And then we will move to committee reports, census tract reports, and adjourn. I want to make sure that the community has a chance to, and we don't wear them out far past 9 o'clock. We'll start with SCE, Vice Chair Marona.
If you do want to make an SCE comment and you have not given us, we only have 4 thus far, you want to make sure you bring this up now. I would call to the stand or the podium. Thank you so much. You guys don't have to stand there. Do remember that SCE nor the council will be answering the public comment. It is just your time to make comment. However, we will be listening and we want to make sure that we hear you. There will be a timer here for 2 minutes and you may only comment on what was publicly shared during the presentation. I'd like to call Robert Steller. Angela Uriu will be after Robert. And then Michael Chichillo and Richard Reber. Sorry, guys. Thank you.
Good evening. Referring to the undergrounding handout, which has been around here, I'd like to discuss some of the issues that the community has identified with the undergrounding of utilities in general. After the fire, the Board of Supervisors in Edison proposed undergrounding as a way to improve the community's resistance to fire and rushed to promote this vision. This precluded the careful planning and outreach that was needed before proceeding. As a devastated community, we were happy to embrace something that might protect us in the future and improve our neighborhoods. That's not what we're getting. We expected efforts to prevent another fire like we just experienced. That's not what we are getting. Edison has already replaced distribution lines in Altadena with insulated cable, which addresses fire risk and wind events. This fire was caused by the transmission lines above Eaton Canyon. None of the undergrounding work in our neighborhoods would have made any difference in the Eaton fire. We envisioned a future like Rubio Highlands, where there are no visible utilities at all, save the streetlights. That's not what we're getting. The poles in our backyards will remain to support AT&T and Spectrum lines because they are not participating. New Edison poles may be added in front yards to feed overhead power to surviving homes. Transformers are being installed in front of every 8th home. We will see Edison service drops strung across streets so that Altadena looks like a third world slum. Our community has not been adequately informed at any step of this process. Only now do we realize what we are being subjected to, and we are furious. We demand that the process be paused and a more considered and complete solution to utility undergrounding be put in place, requiring AT&T and Spectrum to participate, and that these companies directly contact homeowners to assist them with their connections. On behalf of the Altadena community, I'm submitting to the Town Council a request that a policy recommendation letter be sent to the Board of Supervisors addressing these concerns.
Thank you. Angela?
Good evening. I'm a resident of Altadena for the past 28 years. My home was a total loss, as well as all the homes on my 2 blocks of my street, save one home. I am in support of undergrounding, as I believe it will make our community safer. It'll raise home values. Studies have indicated 5 to 20% on your property home value. It will increase reliability of power during storms. It will better protect, undergrounding better protects damage to the power lines. Palm fronds on my street blew out transformers every year, sometimes twice a year. We had power outages. So maybe not totally for fires, like I said, but for sustaining our living conditions in our homes. I understand that there are challenges, though, and I do want the county, I want the Altadena Town Council to press on the county to support our standing home neighbors in their needs, to order SCE. I do believe we did not choose to have our homes destroyed, that the county and SCE should work hard for paying the underground cost from the street to our meter. There's got to be a way, I'm hearing about profits, right? Mandate that SCE coordinate meter locations with homeowners. The one-stop, I don't know, it's just so many things have not been communicated well. I set up a Microsoft Teams meeting with SCE for this morning at 8:05. No one showed up to it. And I have the portal to upload documents for a homeowner is very difficult. I don't see how that can work, so I'm hopeful for the shop that's going to be opening up on Fair Oaks. That sounds great. But I do think you need to be a good neighbor, because it's our homes, everything's been taken. I've salvaged products, relics, and the contractors are dumping wood, it feels a violation. So to see
Thank you.
Michael? A pole put up on our street is a violation.
Thank you, Angela.
I'm a neighborhood captain in the Altogether Block Program at Zone 17 up all the way north of Fair Oaks. Undergrounding happened partially in my zone in November. I'm a standing home resident, and I had just moved back to my home right in time for undergrounding to happen. There was unannounced disruption to my zone, including knocking on my door at 7:30 in the morning asking me to move cars. There was no warning from Public Works or anything like that when the work was actually happening. SCE seems to act with impunity around protected trees and accessing people's lots. I saw the very last of some of my neighbors' vestiges of what their lots used to look like, whether it be their mailboxes or flower beds in the public right-of-way destroyed. SCE, I find the idea that SCE is concerned with fire safety laughable. They moved my overhead connection from across the street, which was clear of my live oak that I think saved my house, to through my live oak. And I called SCE and have a tech to come out and look at it, and they said, oh, it's covered connector and it's pull-away wire. This is perfectly safe and fine. It's basically as safe as undergrounding. Well, let me tell you something, that method is considerably cheaper than undergrounding. It would be no cost to the homeowner. If they were concerned about fire safety, they would have started by removing the old infrastructure that likely caused the fire and then undergrounding the transmission lines in the mountains. Instead, they are asking us to bury our rebuild money and insurance payout in the ground. No, we the residents of Altadena know what this is, a cash grab by SCE. As Councilmember Whirlidge pointed out, they use this expensive new infrastructure in their rate case to the CPUC to increase the rates throughout the state. Also, unless something's changed, the FEMA grant that Brad mentioned is non-retroactive, which means that if you go underground before they figure out getting this FEMA grant, you're not getting that money.
Thank you. That is all the SCE public, one more, I apologize. Richard, I would like to address your comment that you wanted to allow the citizens to have the same presentation time as SCE. We did have a special public comment for SCE. While I realize 2 minutes isn't a lot, we are allowing for you guys to do this, so we appreciate your time and we are listening. Thank you.
The point is that people like Rob can come up and give an equal presentation to what SCE did, and have a much better message.
I understand.
Yeah, okay. My notes, I'm not as cool as the other guys that were up here. One thing I want to mention is the CPUC has a rule called Rule 20D, which allowed San Diego County to pay for the cost of trenching to homeowners for undergrounding power lines after a wildfire. There is no reason why we cannot get Rule 20D to be applied to Altadena. The thing we have to do is lean on the CPUC. Which leads me to this CPUC. That is the citizens, one of the C's stands for citizen, and the point of the CPUC is to regulate the monopolies of our power companies. As far as I can see, Edison is a regulated monopoly without regulation. We need to push back and issue a formal letter to the CPUC to grow a pair and hold Edison accountable. They should not be allowed to pay dividends to shareholders while this is going on, right? I'm going to end it with that.
Thank you. We're going to move on to other public comment, and I totally appreciate the passion, truly. In the interest of time, we want to keep moving so all of you can be heard. They do have to close the building later, so as we move forward, maybe some silent clap would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with Chris, and I'm sorry, Brickford, followed by Stephen Lindholm, Isis Molden for Veronica Jones, and then Kevin Singleton, and then I will call a few more.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm Chris Bridgeford. I'm a builder, concrete contractor, and I think putting campers in the streets is a huge mistake. It's so congested out there right now. You have thousands of contractors that are rebuilding these homes. Each home has at least 10 men working on it at one time, any given day. Where are they going to park? They don't ride together. There's not a central spot to park and ride a shuttle bus to the job site. And you're going to put campers in the street also? I spent 6 years in New Orleans after Katrina. We put the campers on the sidewalks. It was a nightmare. You couldn't get access to the job sites. You know, the people couldn't even park, you know, and let alone the homeowners. You know, I think it's a huge mistake. So that's my comment.
Thank you very much. Stephen Lindholm, Councilmember Molden, if you would get prepared. Kevin Singleton, if you would be up there, and then Natalie.
Hi, I came out tonight to comment on the RV proposal. I think it's the worst idea I've heard all year. Councilman Vega hit the nail on the head. Clapped out RVs are a huge problem in LA. Probably of all the issues in LA, is probably a top 20 issue. Currently, LA has streets filled with RVs where it's completely illegal. RVs are very difficult to tow, hazardous materials, shortage of big tow trucks, lack of space to put them. And it's a sad fact of life that when some people bend the rules, others follow. It's inevitable that Altadena will become a free-for-all if the permits are issued. I don't doubt there are a few that this could help, but we're talking about people who bought an RV after the fire and now a year and a half after the fire have no place to put it. How many people are we really talking about here? Even aside from the people who need it, aside from the homeless problem, there's undoubtedly far more people who would use this than who actually need it. And for the people who can't park on their lot, probably they couldn't park in the street either due to the narrow frontage, crowded streets, narrow or steep streets, so this wouldn't even solve the problem. And for the people who do need it, I would suggest they do what they've been doing the last year and a half. We don't have to say yes to everything people need, and sometimes people have to solve their own problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Molden. Kevin, not sure where you're at. If you want to pop up behind Councilmember, that'd be great.
Dear members of the Altadena Town Council, I am writing as a resident of Census Tract 4610, where I lived for 42 years. During that time, I have witnessed resilient strength and community spirit that define Northwest Altadena. Because of this deep connection, I am concerned about the types of developments currently being proposed and approved in our area, specifically a car wash, a building constructed from freight containers, and a storage facility. While these projects may serve certain purposes, they do not allow or reflect the needs and aspirations of the community that has historically been marginalized and underserved. Northwest Altadena is walkable, engaged, and a vibrant neighborhood. It deserves businesses that contribute to daily life, support local families, and enhance long-term community well-being, not structures that risk becoming an eyesore or deteriorating over time. I believe This is a disservice and continue to place low-value and industrial-style developments in a census tract where there's been a clear opportunity to invest in businesses that uplift the community. I respectfully urge the council to encouraging the county and others to prioritize establishments such as restaurants, cafes that gather spaces, pharmacies and health support services, retail shops and essential needs businesses, community service establishments that foster economic growth, tax dollars, and local pride. These types of businesses would not only meet the needs of residents, but also strengthen the economic and social fabric of Northwest Altadena. For 4 decades after living here, I know firsthand that our community is ready to support and sustain businesses that reflect its value and potential. It is time to bring Northwest Altadena in these kinds of developments that honor the people who live here and contribute positively to our shared future. I appreciate your attention to this matter and the ongoing service to our community. Veronica Jones, concerned citizen.
Thank you, Council Member. Kevin Singleton, are you here? Yes, Natalie Oversloot, if you would line up behind Kevin, that would be great. Thank you. I hope I said that right.
My name is Kevin Singleton. I live only less than a mile from where the fire started. And I know that I'm switching up topics here. First, I want to talk about the impact of our neighborhood because of the fire. Luckily, we did not suffer damage to our neighborhood because of what's known as a wind tunnel. Other areas were devastated. It seems like the California Public Utilities Commission is not doing their job. There's a site on the computer called Frame Finder where there is evidence that Southern California Edison used to maintain the weeds directly underneath the transmission towers in the mountains. And they stopped doing it. You can go back to 1928, see images on Frame Finder for this, and you can go up to 1970, and they still continued to clear the land underneath each and every one of those transmission towers. Then they stopped in the early 70s. Why did they stop? Was this a environmental thing? I don't know. South Coast Air Quality Control has contributed to this fire because they stopped controlled burns and fire breaks and all this other stuff. You know, they don't want to look at it. Erosion, maybe they're ineffective to keep fires from spreading. But in the 1950s, there was the most infrastructure that was put into the Angeles National Forest by the U.S. Forest Service to prevent fires. Now I'm going to go back to my normal topic. My normal topic was I am against a notice that got sent to everybody on our block proposing no parking signs for the purposes of street sweeping. I think this is appalling because it's taking away our freedoms, and there's a lot of people on our street that are against this, and it's causing a rift in our neighborhood because one person wants the street sweeping, and I think it's ridiculous to have the Department of Public Works say that this is the only solution.
Thank you very much.
We don't want signs, we don't want tickets. End of story.
Thank you. Natalie Oversloot, and Tony, you're next. Tony Raines.
Hi, good evening, council members and the public. My name is Natalie Auersloot. I'm the district engineer for Foothill Municipal Water District. I'm actually here tonight to present information on our turf replacement program landscape design rebate and also a spray to drip rebate. So if you participate in the Metropolitan Water District turf replacement program, you can get $2 per square foot of drought-tolerant landscaping that you install on your property. Foothill has an add-on rebate for $1,000 for landscape design services. And we also have an add-on rebate for drip irrigation system installation. So Altadena residents are exempt from providing any historical information on your property as is normally required for these rebates. I have a flyer here and 2 application forms for the programs, and I've put them on the table in the back. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any way we could get a digital copy of that flyer?
Oh, yes. It's also on our website
great.
fmwd.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Tony Raines and Krista, you're on deck.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
one thing I put on the card, but the second thing, and we were laughing about it when they talked about the website. And I think in November meeting, December meeting, I volunteered. So whoever I need to work with to help get this website for ATC together, please connect with me. But what I put on the card, really I had talked to Nic about this, but I think that there needs to be a process put in place. I asked Nic in February, right before the funeral of Billy Woye, if the ATC would write a letter to his wife and children. He served in Census Tract 4610 for 3 different terms, so for 6 years. And what came back to me was it was not presented to the entire council, only the executive, I think, committee, or I might have that wrong. I'd have to look at our text or whatever, Nic, but which is a handful of people, 5 or 6, and that the letter was denied to his widow and children because he was controversial. And I think that's a crock of crap because I'm very controversial. I say exactly what needs to be said. I'm not here for anybody to like me. I don't care about that. He served his district, and that's like giving a middle finger to 4610 and their constituents who elected this man 3 times. For this handful of people to say, oh, he was controversial. Most of them don't know him, but others that did said he was controversial. So I think it's shameful. So I wanted to come and say that. And in the future, because most everybody here has more days behind them than ahead of them, when any of you pass away, hopefully you're acknowledged for your service to Altadena. He got ALS, died, but his wife and children still have the house over in 4610. They've been Altadenians since for 30 years. And I'm a little bit, because it's my cousin's husband. So whoever I need to work with, and I'm gonna go sit down, there needs to be a process in place that everyone who served on this committee or this town council is recognized, and not a resolution, but at least some kind of letter to their families or whatever.
Thank you so much, Tony, and sorry for your loss. Krista is up next, and then Shirley is on deck, and we'll finish up with Myra Damley.
Hi, my name is Krista Copeland. I am the admin of the Surviving Structures Facebook page and co-founder of standinghomes.org. As you all know, Supervisor Barger moved to defer and ultimately waive LA County permit fees for homeowners rebuilding after the Eaton fire, a critical relief measure that we strongly support. However, the motion was written only applies to destroyed homes. Homeowners with standing homes are being told they do not qualify, even when their repairs require permits to remove and replace fire-damaged and/or contaminated walls, HVAC, windows, electrical, plumbing, and roofing. We're currently collecting more data to understand the full scope, but some information we've found already is that although the rationale, one given for excluding standing homes is that insurance will cover repairs, in practice, many homeowners have exhausted their policy limits and are paying the remainder out of pocket. Others have stopped waiting on or arguing with insurance entirely and are moving forward on their own because after more than a year, they simply want to get back home. And they're relying on SBA loans to fund their work that insurance won't cover. Beyond the financial burden, this exclusion reinforces a painful message. Standing home survivors have spent over a year in a state of being nowhere, suspended in limbo, fighting insurance, grieving possessions, chasing uncertain science, and navigating daily life. But unlike those with total loss, their standing walls have rendered them largely invisible to relief systems, too intact to qualify, but too damaged to return. Survivors of standing homes ask that the town council urge Supervisor Barger's office to extend the permit fee waiver and deferral program to standing homes and to establish a retroactive reimbursement pathway for fees already paid. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure if Shirley wanted to make a comment.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shirley Collins, and I am speaking out on behalf of families impacted by the 2025 Eaton Canyon fire. Altadena is not back to normal. Families are still rebuilding after losing home, stability, and financial security. Recovery is not one size fits all. People are doing what they can with what they have left. For many, that means storages, containers, temporary structures, and RVs or campers legally registered to Altadena addresses, not by choice, but out of necessity. Yet, instead of support, we are facing enforcement that feels punitive and out of touch with reality. Since the fire, we've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, especially from some who are supposed to serve and protect this community. Being told that it's been a year and families need to move on and figure it out is unacceptable. Recovery does not follow a timeline. And let's be clear, a few voices does not represent all of Altadena. There is a difference between those living this every day and those who clock out and go home unaffected, go home to unaffected communities. That includes contractors who are temporarily making money and leave. The perspective does not reflect the reality residents living with long-term. It also took one family, my family, to plead for help, guidance, and clarity to bring attention to what is happening. If it hadn't been spoken up, how many more families would have been impacted without anyone knowing? There will be continued public attention on how RV parking is handled moving forward. Because some may disagree does not mean they speak for families who have no other options. And any recommendations that RVs should not be allowed is unacceptable under current recovery conditions. Taking away one of the only survival options does not solve the problem, it makes it worse. So the question remains, how are residents being treated when no one is watching? As is written in Proverbs 31:8-9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Defend their rights and the poor and needy. We are asking for fairness, transparency, and recovery for the first approach of enforcement that punishes families further down.
Thank you very much.
Stand with your community, not against it.
And I have one more commenter, Mira Danley. Are you here? Thank you.
Hello. I was a little confused, maybe. I thought their presentation on Charles White Park was happening tonight. I guess not, but...
My apologies. They had anticipated being here. They'll certainly hear your comments if you'd like to make them. They will be here in April.
Okay. I mean, this has been my first concern is the lack of communication and the timeline, and as a local member, I find it unacceptable. I went to the Fair Oaks Burger meeting, and still the displays show a building sort of occupying the entire southeast quadrant of the park, and I think now more than ever we need open space. We need to protect the open space in the park. Mountain View Street is coming back with a much higher density, and the idea about what this building in the park is so unclear, and we can't even comment on it. We don't know what the purpose of the building is. I feel like there's many community spaces available just at the end of the block at Bob Lucas and Loma Alta Park. I don't see a need for a new building in our park. 1 second. Yeah, and the other issue that's going on in the neighborhood is local people being threatened with arrest for playing soccer at Loma Alta Park, and I think we could open Charles White Park for the soccer field rather than the pickleball courts being phase one. I think phase one should be opening space for the public and bring soccer. Let's coordinate between the parks and find space for people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for that public comment. We are going to move on to committee reports. I have no idea where my...
That's okay. I'll start as it's land use.
Great. Chair Marona.
The Land Use Committee did not meet on March 3rd. However, we will have a vibrant and exciting discussion on April the 7th, so tune in for land use at that time.
Great. Moving on. Is that it? Moving on to the Altadena Eaton Fire Recovery Advisory, Co-Chair Marona.
Yes, the Altadena Eaton Fire Recovery Fund did receive the money from LASA and several other donations. We are waiting on another $40,000 from Fire Aid, which is supposed to be deposited as soon as possible. I know I keep coming to you and saying we're just waiting for these funds. We already are ready to go once these funds are there. And as soon as they are deposited, we will be able to, within 2 weeks, send out our final round of grants. We will not be accepting applications. Only those that applied previously will be eligible for the grants that will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Rebuilding and Infrastructure Committee, your first official report. Chair Morgan Whirlidge.
Kim, is it okay if we share? I have three short slides. I will keep this very short. Apologies. I'm the slide guy. Sorry. Yeah, to get started, we did have an initial meeting of the Rebuild and Infrastructure Committee just to establish a schedule and look at areas of focus. So just wanted to show 3 short slides here. So yeah, the interest is to define some key areas of recovery to focus on and engage with stakeholders in the recovery effort, and that includes county agencies, utilities, and community organizations. And I know we do have some county agencies here, so I'll take this opportunity to say I will probably be reaching out to you in the coming week or so, and hopefully we can establish a regular cadence so we can get some updates from the county. And then the hope is to put that into monthly reports like this one, and to help inform the town council and other community members of the current state of the recovery, and elucidate the progress and goals of the county and utilities. So next slide, thank you, Kim. And I just wanted to put this up for anybody who's interested in it. The county is starting a new county improvement project, and they're asking for community members to take the survey. This will address mobility and transportation, stormwater management, sewer systems, water systems, and energy infrastructure. So you can follow that QR code and it will take you to the survey. And the last slide is having to do with the kickoff of that county improvement project, which will be on April 8th. It'll be on Zoom, and this is the link to sign up for that Zoom meeting. So April 8th at 6:30 p.m. And that concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Whirlidge. Moving on to Safe Streets and Mobility, Councilmember Wong.
So thank you. So Morgan actually mentioned the things I was going to mention, which is mobility and the West San Gabriel Valley Area Plan. That's the event happening on April 8th at 6:30 p.m. And in this time of recovery, it's really important for us to heal, of course, and through the process of movement could be an amazing way for us to think about how we get to where we want to go. And also the county applied for a pedestrian plan framework specific for Altadena. So that would be an amazing thing. So we have just a lot of opportunity as a community. So we'll get some meetings going there. And I think that's it for Safe Streets.
Thank you. We'll move on to Education. Chair Molden.
So the Education Committee is excited to announce the Altadena Town Council is going to be participating in its 4th year for the summer internship program. This program provides local students with the opportunity to gain hands-on experience with civic engagement and nonpartisan public service. The interns will participate in reviewing the current Town Council initiatives, projects, committees, and meetings. We are currently preparing for recruitment and interviews. The Town Council will be participating in upcoming several outreach initiatives and interviews in April. The first one being April 2nd with the Intern Host Expo. April 13th, we will be interviewing Muir High School students. April 14th, Pasadena High School. April 15th, Blair High School. And April 16th, Marshall Fundamental. And we are looking forward to welcoming our new cohorts of students for this summer program. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Census Tract. Sorry. May I have a question? Sure. We have a question.
Will that summer internship program ever be open to other Altadena schools and students, or is it purely just for the PUSD students?
The summer internship program is in partnership with PUSD. They're funding it and they're organizing it, and they've asked us to participate for 4 years now, and we've accepted.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Turning to census tract reports, 4610.
Actually, we're both doing it. So representing the great census tract of 4610, Ms. Bailey Rains had reached out to me over the prior weeks, and so I did want to take a moment to acknowledge our prior member representing our district, Bill Nwoya, who once again passed away in January. Coming up, they've got a number of projects in our area. We are doing our outreach, and so we've provided a link tree link. So that's linktr.ee/Altadena4610, which will have all of the opportunities for making comments moving forward, and being able to capture survey information from the residents. The first one up is the Center for the Community going on county property on Lincoln, just across from Super King. We are currently gathering community feedback and have already gotten a number of responses. There's things going on with the Windsor and Woodbury development. We're looking forward to having him, getting more information from him. There's a potential project happening at the gym's location at Woodbury and Lincoln. As soon as we're cleared to share that information, we will share that out to the community for feedback. Also, we're awaiting an update on Joe's Mobile at Woodbury and Fair Oaks, and I expect them to come before the Land Use Committee soon. Many of our residents have been asking about the project at Woodbury, at 540 Woodbury, which is where the collaboratory currently is. They're revisiting the design and will be coming before the Land Use Committee, and I'll hand it to Isis.
And I just wanted to follow up with agenda item with the Board of Supervisors, agenda item 57, the traffic regulations. They did vote to adopt it, and that means that the residents in 4610 on Elso, Hanning, Crosby, Spalding Place, Alberta, Stonehurst, and Casitas will have approximately 4 weeks to adjust their parking behavior, after which they will start to install the parking signs. They'll put bags over it for us to also get used to it, and then following that, they'll start to enforce it with parking tickets.
Thank you, council members. And lastly, 4603.01, Councilmember Wong.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
So mark your calendars. March 27th is the Spring Jubilee from 3 to 6 p.m. on Friday at Loma Alta Park, which will be an amazing family gathering opportunity for our community to come together. So it's been a tradition. So hopefully you guys can join us at Loma Alta Park on Friday, March 27th from 3 to 6 o'clock. Also, Lincoln Avenue Water has their regular board meeting March 20th, this Friday. And there will be also regular board meetings every 2 weeks. And the annual shareholder meeting is May 4th, Monday at 6 p.m. And last but not least, it's going to be very hot. Cheney Trail Gate is closed for the far and near future, so it's really important for us to see how we can actually focus on communication because people are going up Cheney Trail Road, and at the end of the day, they don't realize how hot it is coming back down, and it's a real danger. So I know there's some signage being worked on Cheney Trail that is explicit, but we have that work to do. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Council members, thank you so much for your patience tonight. I will definitely welcome an adjournment, but I want to say we really put public first this week, and I know we were talking about that a week ago, so thank you for your patience with that.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a move and a second. All those in favor say aye. And we will, so we are adjourned, and we just need to get rid of these tables and these chairs.
Because there's this metal thing that I put in. Yeah, they put in like this massive highway thing. Anyway.